Welcome back to the Nerdrotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler, and I am live in San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and we are here to cover Doctor Who Season 11 of the 2005 relaunch, Episode 2, The Ghost Monument. And first off, before I get into spoiler territory, apologies to the American viewers, but I see this stuff early, and we try to go on as early as possible. Now, in the future, we might be doing this later in the evening to kind of cater to the states from beyond this point. I love the fact that they premiered the episode at the same time in the UK and the States, and I think it really worked. I wish they would have stuck with that. I think that would be much, much better, but we don't. So here we go. And greetings to everybody in the chat. I'll get to you shortly. This will be not as long as last week's either. This was a very it was a decent episode of Doctor Who again. But some of the stuff that we were worried we were going to see in the first episode, they definitely showed some restraint in the first episode, and they definitely did not this episode. There's a couple of things that really stood out that's going to make made me groan. I'm sure it's going to make others groan, and I'm sure it's other people they're not. It's not going to bother them at all. But again, it wasn't too bad. Jodie Whittaker is continuing, and I saw that some people argued with me on this subject, and that's fine. But I still think she's doing her best David Tennant impression. Now, if you're gonna do an impression of another doctor, that's a great doctor to do an impression of. But so far, she has done a pretty good job. I can't lie. She's done a pretty good job, but she did drop something about halfway through the episode that absolutely made me groan. So beyond this point, we are going to get into spoiler territory. Okay, so you are warned at this point, and especially if you're seeing it in the States, you can catch this video later tonight. It airs, I believe, around 5:30 Pacific, 5 o'clock Pacific, our time, or 6. I'm not really sure. But yes, I saw the live viewing on BBC One. Thanks to thanks to a friend. So thank you. And this episode starts out right where we left off with the last episode with our new friends in space with the Doctor and Yasmin and Ryan and Graham. This is right off of the death of Graham's wife, Ryan's mother. They don't have a lot of time to think about this. The Doctor was trying to figure out where her TARDIS was, and she found the position, but she ended up taking everybody with her, which she did not mean to do. They did survive in space for quite a long time, and it was very Hitchhiker. I'm sure everybody got the Hitchhiker vibe off this one, but it wasn't the Heart of Gold that came and saved everybody. It was actually two ships. They were saved separately. So Graham and Ryan were saved by Epso, and the Doctor and Yasmin were saved by Angstrom. Now, they did a scene that was really cool. So the first scene with Angstrom, she's talking to Graham is waking up Ryan, and they're on a ship, and they're happy to be alive, and they don't know where the Doctor is. They're trying to get the pilot of that ship, who is Angstrom, to go back to their friends, and she says, well, if your friends are still there, they're dead anyway. I saved you. And she thinks it's part of a challenge or something. We don't know at this point. Then we shoot over to the other ship, and I like this scene a lot. So we see it through Yasmin's point of view. She kind of wakes up in a stasis chamber, and we get to walk in on the Doctor already in action. And I'm trying to remember if we've ever seen a scene like that. So we're in the point of view of the companion, and we see the Doctor like already in action. I kind of like that. I was like, that's cool. That was different. That was something different. And it shows them in this ship. The ship's falling apart. The Doctor's trying to get the pilot, who is Epso, to blow off the back of it. He's like, no, this is a legendary ship. People sing songs about this. And she says something about, well, they're going to sing operas of your death. So they blow off the back part of the ship. In the meantime, Angstrom, Graham, and Ryan have landed on what looks like a desert planet of some kind. They don't know where they are, and they're trying to work it out. And then behind them, you see Epso's ship crashing, and that has the Doctor and Yasmin on it, and they run from it. Now, they could have easily just, they were like in a little ravine. They could have just climbed the hill and walked to the side, but they decide to run away from the speeding ship. which I guess was good for a visual element. Didn't make a lot of sense. The ship crashes, and it doesn't hit them. Of course, the doctor comes out, and they find they're all on this alien planet, and we follow these two pilots know each other, and they're surprised that they're like the last ones left. They're not sure. So Epzo and Angstrom know each other. They don't seem to be friends, but they look like they're competing for something. We're not sure. And nobody knows what's going on, not even the doctor. The doctor's disappointed that she didn't find the TARDIS. So they follow these people over to a tent, and we find out this is just a big race. So they're a race of like over 4,000 ships, and these are the last two survivors. And it's the last race of its kind, and you get some big bounty. We have no idea how much that is. It seems like a lot. And only one winner can take it home, and the other one gets left on the planet. We find out the planet is extremely dangerous. Everything about this planet is dangerous. It was made that way. We're not sure why at this point. But the doctor, takes exception to it. And then she finds out the guy, they're in a tent and they're talking to this guy named Ilan, and he's a hologram. So he's being projected from far away, and he's the last winner of this race, and he's decided to end it. And he doesn't really care that there's other people there. So they thought that the doctor and her companions were part of the race. That's why they bothered to even stop and pick them up. So they were kind of bummed to find out that they actually had nothing to do with it. And they're all shit. So they're gonna go on without him, but they just start following him, and they have to stay away from the water. Especially the water is very dangerous on this planet. So they all go to a boat and they take a little boat ride over to some ruins. Now, during this boat ride, it's a lot of talking about feelings on boats. And we get our most, I just like really that they need to do this. So they were talking about being separate, and no, we got to do this together. And then the doctor just looks at the camera and goes, "We're stronger together." I'm like, oh my God. Okay. All right. You did it. All right. Are you happy? Can we move on now? And that was the kind of stuff people were kind of worried about. Again, it wasn't that bad, to be honest with you, but listen, I know I've watched a lot of Doctor Who. The Doctor is a sanctimonious a-hole sometimes and very preachy. So that's within character. Okay. It's within character. So we don't have to argue about that. And there is some arguing about guns as well. And again, the Doctor has always hated guns. So that's kind of goes in the story as well. So that doesn't bother me at all. But we also find out in the tent that the end of the race is at the Ghost Monument. At first, the hologram guy doesn't want to show what the Ghost Monument is, but then he does. And we find out that the Ghost Monument is the TARDIS, and the TARDIS appears once every 1,000 cycles in the same place. And the Doctor kind of figures out that the TARDIS is in some kind of a loop, and it's phasing in and out, probably during repair. The TARDIS tends to always freak out when there's a regeneration. And it's probably just, we've seen in the past that the TARDIS kind of takes off for a little while when it wants to reform itself in some fashion or another. And it's dimensional engineering, as they say, which was kind of cool. So we find out like the one Epso guy, he's kind of a dick. He's paranoid. And that's how he lives his life. He's had a pretty tough life. He tells a story about how his mom had him climb a tree when he was 4, and she promised to catch him. So he jumped out of the tree, and then she moved and let him crash, and then said, "Oh, that's your lesson in life, son. Don't ever trust anybody." And he said, "I love my mom. That was the best lesson she ever taught me." We also find out that Angstrom's family is dead. We don't know why, and she's Alberian. So the boat is run on solar energy. They make it past the water. They find out that the water is filled with flesh-eating microbes, so don't eat it, don't drink it, don't do anything. They get up on some ruins, and the Doctor is wondering, what the hell's going on here? I don't understand, like, who built this place and where is the civilization? So they go through the ruins. They find some guard robots that are there, and of course the Doctor says, "Hey, they're just, they're robots. They're not reacting to us. So if we don't act dangerous towards them, they'll be fine." And of course, the dumb guy, Epso, fires a gun at him, and it gets them all shooting. And Ryan, this is Ryan's moment to get brave. He's all, "I've trained for this all my life." And the Doctor's like, "Don't use guns. Guns are bad." guns make things worse. And he's all, no, 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 you kidding me? They're firing at us. And Graham actually agrees with Ryan. He's all, well, they're kind of firing at us. So because he's a gamer, he runs out and he takes out a bunch of the robots. He's all, yeah. And then, of course, they get right back up and he's all, I can't reload. And he runs back in. And the doctor, of course, rubs it in his face a little bit, properly so. And after that, they also, it's very dangerous to be out there at night. So they have to find some shelter. So they do in the ruins. The robot guards are still pursuing them a little bit, and everything on the planet is dangerous. And we see these like little rags or band-aids or something. One of them kind of moves a little bit, and Graham thinks he notices, but it's not a big deal. They kind of walk away. Oh, by the way, the doctor defeats the robots. She says, you always want to use brains over guns. So she finds an electric device that just happens to be electromagnetic pulse that they just have laying around to, I guess, destroy all the robots for some reason. So she finds her Deus Ex Machina, actually. Funny joke there. But yeah, so not really using brains, just a Deus Ex Machina, really, to be honest with you. And that's how they get rid of the robots. So they find shelter, and Ebzo decides to take a nap after getting chewed out by the doctor. And while he's taking a nap, one of these dangerous band-aids comes up and tries to strangle him. And Angstrom saves him at that point. And yeah, so she saves him. And yes, there's deadly band-aids that talk, by the way. And they're running from these band-aids, and the doctor's still trying to figure out, like, nothing makes sense about this planet. Like, what the hell happened? And they find some writing on the ground that she can read. And we find out that this planet was a planet of scientists who were forced, their families were kidnapped, and they were forced to do evil science for the bad guys, who happen to be the Stenza, which were from the first episode, Tim Walsh. And I think I got that name wrong. I can't remember it, but the guy with the teeth in his face from last week is part of that race. And so we are going to be getting a little bit of mystery boxing happening already, and we've got a story thread that's going to be going through the entire season. So these are going to be kind of one-off episodes, and maybe every 3 or 4 episodes you're going to get a little tidbit of what the bigger story is. After they find that out, they go outside and they get attacked by the evil band-aids that talk. It sounded like they look like very Harry Potter at this point. And there's some gas that they can smell. They smell the aroma of garlic. So they decide to just hunker down, and then they end up blowing up. The guy lights the cigar he has, and they end up blowing up the dangerous band-aids, and they are safe. But before they blow up, they have a little chat with the doctor, and they can sense fear. So it's very convenient that these dangerous British band-aids, British because they speak in a British accent, can sense your fears. So they sense the doctor's fear, and we get a little tidbit of a timeless child. And the doctor is kind of taken aback by this. Said, "What the fuck's a timeless child? What are you talking about?" And then she goes, "You get out of my head." So timeless child, what does that mean, folks? What do you think it means? The first thing that hit my head was the doctor, when the doctor has a kid, like another kid other than the daughter that's out there who we don't know what happened to. Yes, also Graham walking around. That was another thing. So the doctor had an old pair of sunglasses that she had in her brand new costume that she got somewhere else. So I don't know if she was carrying around these sunglasses in her old uniform and decided to transfer them to her new uniform. But Graham was wearing like ladies' sunglasses the whole time, which was kind of funny. But again, a reference, that was the other annoying thing, a reference to she has been a woman before. Now, this is where Doctor Who gets confusing. All right. So we've seen, we're on the 13th form that we've seen, technically, I guess, or they count with the War Doctor 14th. But during the second Doctor's transformation, we see a bunch of forms he can take. We also see, if I remember correctly, because I haven't seen a ton of the second Doctor episodes, we see former forms. So they've alluded in the past that the Doctor has taken on many more forms than just 12. We call the 12th Doctor or 13th Doctor because this is what we've seen, but they've alluded heavily that there's been other doctors. She and he has taken other forms. Let the canon people talk about that as much as they want. So yeah, the kidnapped scientists were forced to do horrible things for the Stensa. They destroy the dangerous British band-aids. They make it to the end of the race, and the TARDIS isn't there. So they walk into the tent, and they decide instead of just giving it to Angstrom or Epso, they decide to make it a tie. They force the guy to kind of accept this. At first, he doesn't want to, and then he does, and then he blinks them out and leaves everybody else there. So he takes Epso and Angstrom away, but the Doctor and Ryan and Yasmin and Graham are left there, and the Doctor kind of loses hope for a second, kind of gets discouraged, which we've seen a couple times, but not much. And it's up to the companions to kind of cheer her up. They're like, "Hey, we've made it this far. We'll do it together." And even the Doctor says we'll be dead in a cycle. But then, of course, we hear that noise, and we see the TARDIS at the end. So the TARDIS finally makes it. She uses her finagled sonic screwdriver to kind of signal it, and the TARDIS lands or appears, and they walk in the TARDIS, and we see the inside of the new TARDIS. And she even says, you redecorated. And I followed with, I don't like it. Because I definitely don't. It looked terrible. That looked awful. I'm sorry. That looked god awful. I didn't like Matt Smith's TARDIS that much. I like Tennant's, and they were trying to go kind of for a Tennant Eccleston with kind of the gold. And I thought they were bringing back the circles. I heard they were going to bring back the circles. They kind of did a little bit. So it looks like a mishmash between Matt Smith's first one, David Tennant's old one, with a lot more crystal involved. So I don't know. Some people might like it. I definitely did not. It is not one of the better TARDIS designs. I kind of liked Capaldi's with the whole rotating thing going on, and the library in there. I dug that. I know some people didn't, but I thought it was cool. My favorite TARDIS interior, Eighth Doctor's. The Eighth Doctor's TARDIS interior was the best because it was like it was Victorian house library. I love that one. I thought that was great. So, but you can't win them all. So that's where the episode ends. I would give it a 6 out of 10. Maybe. It was pretty good. Again, these aren't as god awful as I thought they would be. And where I base that from is Chibnall's past work in Doctor Who has not been the best Doctor Who, but when he's on his own, so far he's doing okay. Are these extraordinary? No, these are not extraordinary episodes. Is Jodie Whittaker doing a decent job as being a doctor? Yes. She's doing a decent job. It would be bullshit to say otherwise, in my opinion. Is it going to absolutely win everybody over? I think a lot of people dipped out prior to her anyway, and I don't know if they're going to come back. And I'm talking about here in the States. I don't know how things are in the UK, but the ratings in the UK were pretty damn good for last week. They were 8.2 million. Deadline Hollywood out here reported that those were record ratings that actually beat the first appearance of David Tennant and Peter Capaldi and Matt Smith, and that's not true. At least for the David Tennant ones. David Tennant had like 10 million. Now, if you're talking about extrapolating it out with streaming and all that stuff, maybe, but we're talking about overnight ratings, and Deadline was erroneous in that. As far as like how people are going to stay on, we'll see what the ratings are. I think people might stay on. I think in the UK they might stay on. Here in America, the ratings weren't record. They were right around what Capaldi's. They were a little above what Capaldi's last episode was, the Christmas special, which was almost 1.5 million viewers. And that's on BBC America. And the thing is, BBC America isn't on every cable package. It's not easy to find. And that's part of the reason for that. I think a lot of people in America find other means to watch it. So I think it's easily double that for people who watch it in America, but they got to be views that count. So real quick, I'm going to get to the chat. Oh man. And again, I'm probably going to do this. It depends on how things go. I hate to do this early for my wonderful American viewers, but this one was for you, UK, you wonderful people in Europe and UK. We love you guys. We got Mako, we got Damian Raw. How's it going? Jez, it's going well. Thanks for asking. Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey. What is up, Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey? How's it going? It was a crazy morning here. I had just not a good one, but I was happy. I'm happy to be here with you guys right now. What's up, Midnight's Edge? How's it going? I don't know how many people actually watched the episode, so I'm going to go through the chat as quick as I can. If not, then I've got to move on. If the American audience out there, I do a live stream on Monday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. We will talk Doctor Who. So if you want to talk Doctor Who, come and join me then live and ask me whatever questions. Tell me how big of an idiot I am. Whatever, just come in and join me. That's fine. You're determined to think the worst of this show, aren't you, Gary? Says Silver Spike. No, did I sound like I was? I think I'm giving it a fair shot. Could be worse. Could be Vogons that picked him up. That's in my notes, Mako. I even put my notes. Vogons. No, I think you know what? If they want to lean into like kind of doing a hitchhikery kind of world, which I think Doctor Who absolutely occupies that world. Fuck yeah, do that. I mean, that will sell me. As with every Doctor, it takes time for people to get used to it. It's going to take twice as long for people to get used to Jodie Whittaker, who were just not down with the female Doctor thing. There's a lot of people who are probably quiet about it, who are not down with it, and there's people who aren't. But yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out. It's like I said, it's okay. It's okay. But I'm not going to tell you it's the greatest Doctor Who I've ever seen, because it's not. It's clearly not. But it's, maybe they're starting out slow. And these are definitely better than these episodes are better than anything I saw out of season 10. I mean, anything. Season 10 was awful. It was awful. The Moffat's run was awful towards the end. And poor Capaldi. I loved him as a Doctor. He just he didn't have anything to work with. Not his fault. Bill Barclay says, too many haters. It's almost like those Russian bots with The Last Jedi and Lady Gaga fans with Venom. I know, right? There's just haters. It's people who hate, or maybe it's people just critical of a content of a show. I don't know. And for one, if you're not a hater, if you don't love something like, oh my God, everything's amazing. If you don't say that, if anything south of that is a hater, then maybe one should adjust their thinking. Okay. But yeah, seriously, that was a problem for you. Yes. Silver Spike. Because it just made me groan. I don't know how much of a problem it didn't it took me out of the episode. And that's why you don't want to get topical. You can get, as far as politics, you can allude to stuff and do all kinds of, like what old Star Trek did and what Doctor Who has done in the past, recent past. That's fine. You tend to date stuff, and when you date stuff, it's not good for repeat viewings in the future. Doctor Who is a show that depends on its legacy. Okay, and a legacy that goes out for years. So they want people. I don't know if they're making them like that anymore, but you want people to be watching these episodes. Like I still watch Third Doctor episodes and Fourth Doctor episodes all the time. You want people watching these episodes 30 years from now. I think that's something that, Lucasfilm has lost sight of for sure. And the runners of Star Trek. I will still say this is a lot better than Star Trek Discovery for sure. I am rewatching them all. Actually ended up getting BritBox. So don't need to give me Doctor Who on episode 12 of the first season of Farscape. Farscape's awesome, by the way. We're covering Farscape. My favorite. Okay, so Mako, I totally agree with you there. My favorite character is Graham so far. He's fucking hilarious and really well written, and trying to be like really authentic, where he's trying to be there for the grandson or the step grandson who wants no part of him right now, but he knows he's just kind of grieving for his mom, and like it or not, like Graham's the last parent around for him, and eventually Ryan's gonna figure that out. Hopefully, it's not some moment where Graham dies or something like that. But that's kind of Doctor Who too, to do that. But yes, I love Graham. Graham is funny as hell. Endless Echo says Doctor Who cares or Doctor Who. And this is the crappy thing Jodie Whittaker was given. Okay. She was brought in, uh, and I don't blame her at all. She was brought in at season 11 of a very old show, amongst a ton of controversy. Like it or not, it was there. And I think she's done a pretty decent job. I think they've done a decent job writing her. And the key thing is you don't want to alienate any fans, but you got to change your show too. And this is the show that changes. This is the one show that does change every 3 or 4 years. So, and they go through this all the time. I hate this doctor. It's not just because she's a woman. Like, listen, I'll be honest with Capaldi. I never really felt like he was a doctor. He did a good job, but I never felt like he didn't have, all of his seasons were different. So I never fully accepted him as like a doctor. He's going to be when history plays out in a few years from now, people are going to remember, man, a really good guy who played the doctor well, who just wasn't given good stuff to write or good writing, good stuff to, deal with. He was given bad writing. He did the best he could. I don't think anybody could have done better than him. He had some like amazing episodes, but mostly it was, each doctor was different. There was a 1 year break in between. The BBC did nobody any favors on this. If they would have taken, they took a year break with the 10th season. If they would have taken that year to write up a story to bring in the female doctor and like have Capaldi's swan song kind of lead into it, like for the entire season, that would have been interesting. I think that was a lost opportunity. Silver Spike likes Graham so far too. He's the best written, and the sunglasses were funny. That was kind of funny. Yeah. So, kill the canon now, says Endless Echo 3. Yeah, and I think what's happening here is the people who, I'm really interested to see what the ratings are from here on out, because there was probably a lot of people who are hate watching or out of just curiosity watching. Probably a lot of non-Doctor Who fans, peeked in on this one, and we'll see what they think afterwards. We'll see if they made some new fans. We'll see if it carries on. That'll be interesting. We'll find out shortly. And it was nice seeing the TARDIS. I've been missing live shows, but congrats on pursuing your dreams and going back to retail soon. Follow your passions. Thank you, Rubicon Alpha. It's good to see you again. It's good to see, yes, opening up a comic store. It's going to be fun. Hollywood is an awful place for women. There is an overcorrection, but let's not also pretend everything should go back to good old days. Mako never said that. And I agree. Hollywood is currently going through a tremendous overcorrection due to Time's Up and Me Too. There's a lot of layers to that. That shit happened. Hollywood was the worst place for that. The worst. So there needed to be a correction there. I think I can speak for every dude I know. I don't want women in the kitchen. No. I like my wife, having a job. I like my wife owning a business. My wife owns a business. My wife is a boss. You kidding me? My wife makes more than me. I don't care. No, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. The overcorrection will, eventually the pendulum will swing back and things will go back to normal, I suspect, or people will dip out. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're dipping out. I mean, Hollywood, and this is BBC show I know we're talking about, but Hollywood, the way they've been acting is if like we're the ones who made all these decisions and did all that casting and all that stuff. It's like, no. You guys were the ones doing the casting couch. You were the guys that are the ones who, like, when a woman turned for 40, you ditched her or made her a mom or something like that. So, but maybe they should have dealt with it in-house instead of, I know ripping up properties and relabeling properties, and just, right now it's just a trend. It's just a trend, which is detrimental in the long run, because trends get old and tired. So right now, the sex swapping thing is become a thing with the Ocean's 8 and Ghostbusters, and we go back. My suggestion would be just mix it up. Like for Ghostbusters, do 2 women and 2 men. What was wrong with that? That would have been totally acceptable. But no, they didn't want to do that. So okay, whatever. There you go. But don't open that can of worms. That worm. That can. Who opened the can of worms? That can of worms has been open, Mako. Hopefully we can close it someday and just carry on. And I'll enjoy some television and some science fiction and some genre. And yeah, the occasional political controversial thing. Sure, we can definitely handle that as adults. But and nowhere, no way is Doctor Who as bad as I wouldn't say it's bad at all. Like Star Trek Discovery is bad, Star Wars is bad, Marvel Comics is bad, Ghostbusters 2016 was bad. Doctor Who is not any of those. Definitely not. Definitely not. So I will catch you, Leslie. Yeah, we're gonna cover every episode as long as you guys want to cover every episode. But after this one, I'm going to be doing them in the evening. So apologies to the UK audience, but I do live in the States. And most of our subscribers are from the States. So I did this one for you, UK. But if you in the future, if you want to talk to me about Doctor Who, catch me on Mondays. So it's Monday morning here, but it's in the evening for you. So it should work out. I do it a little earlier, so it's early evening for you guys. So it's if I start at 9:30 here, it's 8 hours difference. So it's like 5, 6, something like that. Something like that. My math sucks. So everybody, you have a great day. Please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdrotic, where we give you stuff. And you know what? Even if you're in the UK, we give you stuff, or anywhere else, actually. Our next show will be a Venture Brothers retrospective tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific. Otherwise, Doctor Who fans, I will see you on the Nerdrotic Nooner, which is tomorrow, which is probably an eveninger for you guys. And everybody, take care, doors and corners, and may the small folks sing songs for greatness. Cheers.